Welcome to the first episode of My Story Mondays, everyone. And I'll tell you the cool fact of why I'm not waiting for anyone later, because there's just a whole bunch of people that are invisible right now that are watching the show. But thank you for coming. For those of you that don't know who I am Winston Yeung. I am your host for tonight. And I was given back this mic that I handed out last October. And then pieces fell together to create this show that you're at right now. To give you a bit of insight as to what the show is about, I grew up with a massive dysfunctional belief that I needed permission to speak. And it kind of looked like this. Someone would be sitting there and you just stand very attentively waiting for your moment, and they would be annoyed that you're standing there waiting for a moment. You get your moment, and then they just sit back and said, okay, so I know that you've been waiting, so talk. And I'm sure you would understand at that moment, in your mind, you're like, well, you're not really listening to what I have to say. And then you don't say it. And then that little voice that you have just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and disappears. And then you grow into an adult, and then you want your voice to be heard, and you severely overcompensate. And I overcompensated in the way of wanting to be that guy that everyone shot in a photograph wanted to be. It's like you wanted that superstardom. And I didn't understand I actually achieved that until someone came up to me and said, Winston, why do you always need to be photographed with whomever that may be? To me, that was just normal until I finally started doing some personal development work and realized that all that was born from this belief that I needed permission to speak and that no one was listening. And if they wanted to listen, no one really cared. So I just kept that message inside of me. So the purpose of this space is to create a very safe environment for people to share a moment of their lives. There's no theme involved. The people that come up here have selected a story on their own, and they're going to share it with us to connect your heart to their heart, to create a connection and to create community within this space, and then have it grow as the shows go on. Now, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to tell you what happened the last 72 hours or not. Let's go with yes. So 72 hours ago, as I'm preparing for this show, an individual decided that this show should not exist. So instead of speaking to me about it and working things out, they chose to take a plan of action through fear and intimidation and have my speakers pull out by scaring them with untruth. And it really bothered me because I know if someone wants to not like me, that's perfectly fine. I know a whole bunch of people on this planet that hate my guts, right? And I'm used to it. But if the issue was with me, then speak to me. You don't have to go and involve people that are not directly involved. And the part that really pained me was when I got an update from speakers that were contacted, and it ruined their day. It caused them psychological and emotional stress. And it carried on for the next couple of days. And it really bugged me that instead of dealing it as like an adult, they have chosen to take a course of action that I just define as being a bully, using fear and intimidation to get what they want because they fear that you're doing something they don't want to do. They are losing control of you, and the only way to get control is to go and sabotage what you're trying to create. So with that being said, I looked at my whole purpose of this. And it galvanized my resolve that this space needs to exist. Here's someone that goes, I don't want you to speak, who is trying to scare someone into not sharing their message, into being silent. And by doing so, withholding a moment of their lives that they're gifting to other people. And I go, that's not right. And by looking at this, I go, you know what? Everything that you have done has proven to me that this has to happen. So it's happening, and that's why we're all here. And I thank you for coming to support this night. So now that I got that out of the way, I feel a lot better. And before I put my infamous party hat on, I'm going to put out a few announcements. There is photography and video recording allowed, but I do ask that you refrain from doing it for the sole purpose that these people coming on stage are freaked out enough and they don't need a camera recording them as they move around. And if you do take a picture, please turn off the flash so you don't distract them and they lose their train of thought. The second thing is a trigger warning. All of the stories are personal in nature, and some of them might encroach on very dark topics of abuse, addiction, self-harm, things that might trigger you. So if you get triggered and you need a timeout, there's a beautiful lounge at the back and around the corner. You can go there, give yourself a timeout, get yourself a drink if you like. When you calm down and get yourself back together, you can come back and join us. The washrooms are down the Golden Hall. They are all gender neutral, and all I ask is that you wash your hands when you come back. And that's it. That really is it. Okay, so I'm going to put this hat on. So give me a second to put this hat on, and we'll get the show started. Okay. Yay, now we can get going.